If you ever felt that singing high notes is hard or that it takes a long time and you start to feel frustrated, then this video is for you. Why? Because we're going to go behind the scenes and we're going to uncover the actual process that helps you go from struggle to ease. So stay tuned. Hi, if you're new to this channel, I'm Jimena Cabrera. I'm a singer-songwriter, vocal coach, and the founder of the Singing Panda, a singing academy where we help you develop your voice holistically, that is mentally, emotionally, and technically. This is our last video on the series on how to sing high notes. So far we've covered the beliefs that shape how we approach high notes, voice types and vocal registers, and the mindset shifts necessary to sing high notes with more freedom. I'll leave a link so you can watch those videos later. And today, in the last video of the series, we're going to learn something very important. We're going to learn about the real process of learning to sing higher notes, the expectation problem. One of the biggest challenges that I see students have when they are trying to learn how to sing higher notes is actually having the right expectations, which in turn creates a lot of frustration. So it's actually not a technical problem in this case, but it's actually more to do with a mindset shift that needs to happen. Understanding that this is a neurological and physiological process and that it is supposed to take some time. So that alone should help you feel more relaxed and give yourself also some grace so that you can take your time to understand and create these new habits for yourself. Remember, creating the right expectations reduces frustration and builds confidence. Your vocal folds are essentially muscle and ligament. When you are wanting to go higher into your range, what you're asking your vocal folds to do is to actually stretch. I always love to use an analogy when I explain to my students what this really means for your vocal apparatus. I love to use the analogy of doing full splits. Imagine that you're taking dance lessons and you're being asked to do a full split. You wouldn't force it. You wouldn't expect to be able to do it from 1 minute to the next, right? And you wouldn't force it either. You would go gradually. Of course, this is an analogy, but I think it makes it easier to understand the fact that there has to be a process. Right? So you have to go step by step and not, very important, not ask yourself to do something that you cannot do yet, right? So give your body time to understand and to be able to stretch more and more as the practice continues. The body needs progression. If you've ever done a warm-up before, you're going to notice that that is actually the way in which warm-ups work. That's how we train as singers. So what you do is you start in the most comfortable part of your range and you start to work your way upwards. You start to sing higher into your range, slowly, step by step. There is a progression to be followed. Warm-ups usually take 20, 30 minutes. And so towards the end of those 30 minutes, 25 minutes, you are going to notice that you will be singing a lot higher than at the beginning. At some point, if you're working on widening your range, you're going to start to notice that tension starts to build up, that the higher notes that your teacher is asking you to sing start to feel a little bit harder. And if there's tension, your teacher will actually help you to become aware of that and then start to go down, move down. So there is a progression. I just mentioned in passing a concept that is very, very important. It has to do with you becoming aware of when tension starts to appear. Tension, is something that is a sign. It's information, actually. It's a sign that you're getting tired and that is as far as your instrument can be taken that day. So it's important to become aware of when tension starts to appear to prevent it, to prevent straining and to prevent an injury as well. The first milestone, awareness. At the Singing Panda, we think of vocal development in milestones. And the first one is awareness. Awareness means becoming aware something exists, being able to name it, recognizing it in others, and recognizing it in yourself. In singing, this means developing a perception of what's happening in your body. When you start to understand what tension actually feels like, then you are able to prevent it. Because you cannot change what you cannot perceive. Why this process takes time. Another reason why learning to sing in general and learning to sing higher notes, in this case at hand, takes time is because you're not only learning new habits, you're also unlearning old habits, old patterns, old ways of doing things which felt okay and felt safe until you learn this new way of going about singing higher notes, for example, with more ease. So that's why you need patience, and you need to know that for some time these two ways of doing things, in this case the new habits and the old habits of singing higher notes, are going to coexist, and these old habits are not going to go away without a fight. So you need to keep reinforcing and repeating the new habits so they become the new norm. Learning to sing means creating new habits and unlearning old ones. That's why it takes time. The role of repetition. Once you understand how to sing higher notes with more ease, then what you want to do is to repeat. You want to practice, right? Repetition plays a very important role in learning anything, as we all know. But what kind of practice is most effective? And this has a lot to do with the level of difficulty of your practice. One important idea is working at the right level of difficulty, just slightly above your current ability, what we could call challenge +1. Why guidance matters. And this is why working with a teacher is so important, because the teacher will be able to give you practice, will give you activities, will help you train in this area which is slightly above your current level of ability. So that's why it's so important to work with teachers. A vocal coach helps you understand what to work on and when. This is why working with a teacher also is very helpful, because the teacher will be able to provide exercises for you, practice that is slightly above your current level of ability. The emotional side. I want to address this subject very briefly. I want to talk about how emotions relate to the subject of practice. So I don't know if it's happened to you. I had recently a conversation with a student who was telling me that she was not able to practice as often as she would like to. It's not that she doesn't have time to practice, it's that she always, I don't know, for some reason, does not seem to make time for practice. And we actually came to the conclusion that this is another way in which fear might manifest when you are learning this new skill. There is this question underneath, which is, in her case, we found out that it is, am I good enough? She's always trying to prove to herself that she can actually sing. We all have these fears, you know, and in her case, it's this question, right? And what we found out is that it's not only this question of, am I good enough? What if I practice and if I do everything that I have to do in order to, that I think that I have to do in order to be a singer, and it's still not enough? What if I'm not cut out to be a singer? So that's her fear, right? And it manifests in this way, in her not finding time to actually practice. So, you know, there are many reasons why we do what we do. And if you find yourself not having enough time to practice, or consistently not having enough time to practice, or maybe not being willing to invest in training, well, that could be one of the reasons. What if I invest time? What if I invest money on this thing that I love to do, and it turns out I'm not good enough? And of course, this is just a fear. This is not real, right? It's not real. So it's just a matter of learning how to overcome our fears little by little, so that in time we are able to express ourselves through singing with a lot of freedom and a lot of fun and a lot of joy, as I always tell you. If you don't commit to the process, you will never discover what your voice is capable of. And of course, I had to face my own fears when I was learning to sing. For example, I remember that one thing that I did, that I know now that I didn't know I was doing at the time, was I would not record myself. So I would practice and all, but I would never press record and actually hear myself. And this was actually something that I was doing out of fear, because I felt at the time that if I didn't like what I heard, then that meant that I was not actually a singer. When you give yourself time, time gives you perspective. So now I understand that that was actually rooted in fear, and also in me having a fixed ability mindset, thinking that I was either good at it or not, and that there was nothing that I could do about it, right? And so in time, I overcame this fear, and I was able to start to listen to myself, to start to record myself. And of course, there were things that I didn't like, but I was learning, right? That's why you take lessons. That's why you try to get better. And of course, that helped me a lot in becoming the singer that I know I am now. So this is just for you to know that we are all at some point or other trying to overcome these fears that are usually imaginary. Another thing that I think is fascinating about learning any skill, or learning to sing in particular in this case, is that you're not only learning to sing, you are learning lots of other life skills that you need in other situations, such as learning to trust yourself. It helps you learn to make room for the things that matter to you. That's a big one. It helps you overcome your fears, become more confident. It helps you in so many ways. And these are life skills that I'm sure you would agree are very useful, come in handy in many other situations other than singing. So I think that the process is very rich, and that's why we say at the Singing Panda that we really love the process. We fall in love with the process of learning to sing. So to recap, today we explored why having the right expectations matters so much, why the voice needs gradual training, why awareness is the first step, why habits take time to change, and why repetition and guidance are essential. So I wonder what part resonated more with you. The idea of awareness as the first milestone, working with new habits versus old habits, the role of repetition, or the emotional side of the process. Tell me in the comments. If you would like to learn a little bit more about your voice and how you tend to approach singing challenges, I created a fun personality quiz that reveals your spirit animal. I'm going to leave a link in the description box below. Also, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the notifications so you don't miss the next videos coming up. I'm going to be posting one new video every Friday. In the meantime, happy singing, everyone.